Right then, you horrible lot. Burntwolf Airsoft proudly presents Airsoft Tips for Noobs. Now, before I get to actual game tips, there's a couple of things that I'd like to cover that I think are important. Firstly, don't be intimidated by the airsoft community. Now, I see this a lot online. New players thinking that just because they're new to the game, they won't be welcome. Nothing is further from the truth. Even though the airsoft community can look very intimidating, they, in general, are very welcoming and helpful. I've made so many friends playing airsoft, and I've never had to look far for help when problems have occurred. So don't let all the guns and combat gear intimidate you. Secondly, don't be scared of getting shot. Again, one of the most frequently asked questions I've heard asked by new players is, does it hurt? And the simple answer to that is no, not really. It can sting a little if you get hit in a sensitive spot like the fingers, but honestly, most shots you will hear rather than feel. I recommend that new players ask someone to shoot them from a few feet away. It will set you up for the rest of the game, knowing that's as bad as it can be. Next, I'm going to talk about mindset for airsoft. It's a game, played for fun, believe it or not. So if you get the urge to do something stupid, I implore you to do it. Not only will it enhance your enjoyment of the game, but it will also enhance the enjoyment of those around you. I've played alongside people dressed as Deadpool, Iron Man, a group of people dressed as Smurfs, cowboys, Indians, to name but a few. As well as people running swords, axes, lightsabers, bows and arrows, and even one chap using a bog brush as a knife. It can be bloody hilarious. Really adds to the game knowing that you've got an angry mob of Smurfs about to turn around the corner blapping everybody. So don't be scared to do something different. Just don't go in with high expectations. I hate hearing people talk about how good they are at Call of Duty and expecting to kick ass in airsoft because of this. It's bloody ridiculous, comparing a computer game to real life. Anyway, now you've sat for all that, I'd like to talk about a few in-game tips for new players. And a big one, I would say, would be move up. Don't worry about getting shot out too much. Probe the enemy lines, taking different routes. Eventually you'll find a weak spot and get amongst or behind the opposite team, which is where the real fun starts, I can tell you. Just don't expect to get lucky with your first attempt, especially if you're new to the site. I generally find that the best method on most sites is to attempt to skirt around the edge of the skirmish. But be alert, as it's quite a heavily used tactic, and you're bound to run into a few of the opposite team trying to do the same thing. Move up in small steps, then stop and listen before moving on again. Most of the time you'll hear people moving before you actually see them. When shooting at moving targets, rather than shooting directly at the player, find a little hole where they're going to be running through, and then blast about 5 or 6 shots through there, just as they're about to go past it. They won't know where you are at this point, so they won't know where to turn, and they'll just walk into a little hail of fire, rather than chasing after them along their route of movement. Another top tip for new players would be to lie down. Stupid as it sounds, a lot of people don't bother to check the floor around them. You can blend in a hell of a lot better with all the grass and leaves and rubbish on the floor than you can against the side of a building or anything like that. You're more obvious. You'd be shocked at how much the lay of the land change actually flat on the ground. There can be so much cover down there that standing up players would completely and utterly miss. Always remember to wind your mags. I know it sounds simple and straightforward, but I forgot to wind my mags in the past and wondered why the gun wasn't feeding. And it's something you have to get into the habit of doing. Most Reswell guns will be high cappers. And if you don't wind the little wheel on the bottom of the magazine, the gun won't feed. It's an easy mistake to make. So every few shots, just make sure you spin the little wheel on the bottom of the mag, keeps the gun fed. Jolly good stuff. And that pretty much covers it, really. Hope you found this video helpful. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you like what you see. Anyway, back to what you were doing. At ease.